So I actually told this story before, when I had a different name actually, but since I deleted all those old videos, and since that video was so awful, I decided to retell it because I thought it'd make for a pretty good, um, video. Okay, so for some context, there's this kid, right? And we'll call him Tony. Now, no one really liked Tony. Tony was kind of a dick, and he was just kind of a teacher's pet and just really annoying. Um, but personally, I didn't really have any personal problems with him because he didn't really bother me, which I'm lucky about because I didn't really like Tony. He used to mess with my friends a lot. But I'm just lucky that he didn't really mess with me because to be honest, I didn't really want to deal with him. So, whatever. For a while, he just stayed, like, he just minded his own business, and I minded mine. And for most of the time when he was, messing with my friends or whatever, I was just kind of like a spectator, so. But there is this one time, which I'm actually about to get to. And sorry, so me and Tony ride oh, by the way, before I actually continue, I wanted to say that this is kind of my first time doing this type of video, so I am sorry if I'm a bit, bad at this. Anyways, so me and Tony ride the same bus, and we have the same bus stop, right? And I set up, this is going to be important in a minute, so I set up in the, like, kind of at the front of the bus, like the very front, and so just I can have an easier time getting off. Um, but and the bus driver on the bus. I didn't really. We weren't friends. Me and the bus driver weren't friends, but like we talked a couple times. Um, so like we weren't friends, but like we knew each other if that made sense. So he asked me for a favor, right? And I said, sure, because a little favor can't hurt. He's probably gonna ask me, like, hey, can you hold something for me, or something like that. So I say, sure. He asked me, hey, can you help me manage the bus and help me control, like, the bus? Because I need to make sure all the kindergartners get off first. And I'm like, yeah, sure, because I don't know if this was like a school rule or like a bus rule that he had, or because all the kindergartners had to get off first. That was just a rule either he or the school had, right? And I'm like, yeah, sure, because he told everyone on the bus this before, but no one really listened, so he kind of asked me for help, and I'm like, sure. So we get to my bus stop, and Tony starts, well, he gets up and he's pushing past these kindergartners, right? And I stop and I'm like, hey, dude, you can't really do that because the kindergartners got to get off first. And he just kind of pushes past me, and I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. Well, I didn't tell him sorry, but I told the bus driver, hey, sorry, I couldn't really do anything. And it's like, oh, it's fine. Um, and so I think nothing about it. Tony was just being a dick, and I go about my day, right? Again, I don't really think anything about it. Nothing, I'm just going about my day as normal, right? And while I'm walking back to my house, because we live in an apartment, and my apartment, this will kind of be important later, my apartment is really small. Like, you can maybe fit two toddlers side by side, and that's it. And, like, in terms of, like, the hallway, because we had a really long hallway kind of connecting everything, and it was a small hallway, right? And the rooms weren't that big, but whatever. Um, and luckily, I'm in a much bigger house now, which I'm happy about. But anyways, sorry, I'm getting off track. So, Tony pushes past me, and I start heading back home, and I don't think anything about it, right? I just go about my day until when I'm walking back to my house or my apartment, this woman screams at the top of her lungs, "Yeah, you better keep walking, or I ought to beat your ass." And I'm like, and I look back and I'm like, you talking to me? Because no one really lives on my side of because like there's apartment complex, so like I'm really the only one walking in this direction, and she's looking at me, and I'm like, are you talking to me? I didn't really say anything, but I'm thinking this, and I'm just give her a weird look, like, are you really screaming like this in front of everyone. And also, she went out of her way. I do want to mention this. She went out of her way to do that, right? Because how like the bus is like set in my like I guess bus stop, I have to walk around the bus. So she decided to walk around the bus and scream at the top of her lungs that at this point, to scream that I had to beat your ass to a child because I was like 10 to 11 at this point, right? And I actually didn't know this was Tony's mom, um, but I kind of guessed that later. Anyway, so again, I go about my day. I'm like, okay, that's weird. That lady's kind of like a Karen. But I don't think anything about it, and I again just go about my day until I call my mom, right? And I tell her, hey, can I go to my friend's? My friend's name. Let's call him Timmy, all right? My friend Timmy. I asked him to go over to his house because he lives in the apartment right behind mine, so I can easily walk there, no problem, right? Because I've done this a couple times before, so I do that, right? And while I'm heading over and I get inside of his house, I'm like, oh, my backpack's open. I probably dropped something. Hey, do you think we can go outside and check? And he's like, yeah. So we start heading outside, right? And he's in front of me, so he gets outside before me, and he runs back inside, right? And and I'm like, oh, dude, what's wrong? Why'd you run back inside? And I was like, dude, you know that woman who was screaming at you at the bus stop? And I'm like, yeah. Well, she's here. She's coming towards our house. And I'm like, oh, can you get my stuff? And he's like, yeah, I can. Just give me a minute. And so he walks outside, right? And the woman actually walks up to him and like they're talking. Like, cause I'm still in the hallway of the apartment and I can't hear what they're saying, but I know they're talking. So he comes back inside. He got my stuff, and I'm like, "Yo, dude, what were you two talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, well, and he's like, "Oh, well, she said, hey, have you seen a fat white boy around here? Because that's my description. I am fat. I'm fat. I'm not even gonna beat around the bush. I'm fat. I'll be honest. Anyways, and luckily he covered for me, and he was like, "No, I haven't. Sorry." And it's like, "Well, if you see him, you better tell me." And it's like, "Okay." And then he just came back inside. And at this point, I'm freaked out because I'm like, this, because at this point, what's going through my mind is this woman is looking for me. Like, she's actively looking for me because, like, Tony, and I kind of gathered that this was probably Tony's mom. And so what I thought is, like, she doesn't live, like, on this, like, side of the apartments. So I'm like, she's actively looking for me. So that freaks me out, right? And I'm freaked out at this point, and I tell him like, dude, I'm just gonna go home, right? And he's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. So I go home, right? I book it back home, and I call my mom and I tell her the situation. She's like, okay, hold on, I'll be right over. You just gotta give me a couple minutes. I'm like, okay, okay. Um, and after this, I did see her again because she was walking towards my apartment. Like she came up to my door and not my door to my actual like apartment, like my side of the apartment, or I guess my parents' side, but like to the door to enter the apartments, if that makes sense. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. Um and but she's just stands. So she's just sorry. I'm sorry. I'm kind of bad at this, so please excuse me. I maybe tell the story again when I'm a lot better at this. But anyways, and she's just standing there in front of the door, and I can see her because I have this balcony and this glass. So I kind of walk outside because I'm an idiot and I'm just curious, right? And so luckily she didn't see me, but she's just standing there. And then after like 5 or so seconds, which it felt like longer, but realistically it was like 5 seconds, she walks away. I'm like, okay, now I'm really even more freaked out. But I get home, my mom gets home, and nothing really happens after that until the next day. So again, like my mom said she would deal with it, and so I'm like, oh, okay, she'll deal with it. I got nothing to worry about, you know. So again, I go about my day. I don't think anything about it until I get home the next day and there's a cop car outside of like my apartment, right? And my mom's sitting there and I'm like, okay, this is a bit weird. Did I do something? So I walk over to the cop car because well my mom is over there And I don't really remember what exactly happened at this point, but the guy was just kind of asking me a couple questions. He didn't really ask me what happened, like during like this whole situation, because I told my mom. And at this point, I didn't really think of this before, but I'm assuming now that my mom just kind of explained it to him, right? Um, so I guess that's why he didn't ask me. I'm not 100% sure, but um, he's asking me a couple questions though. I don't really remember what those questions are, but I just kind of he asked me a couple questions and I go about my day. Again, at this point, I think it's over. I think it's completely over. I'll never hear about these guys again. It's done. They're being dealt with, right? Until like a week later. So this is like a week later, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember how long it was between the times that I spoke to that cop and now, but it was like a week later. Sorry, a week later. I'm sorry. Um, and basically now Tony is outside and my mom is outside with Tony's mom, and this is where I actually knew that this is Tony's mom, cause Tony's out there with this woman. And my mom's talking to him, and she looks like she's smiling, and she's sorry, and she looks like she's smiling, and I'm like, okay, this is a bit weird. Why is she smiling? So I go outside and this woman apologizes to me, but it was kind of like a half-ass. Like she didn't really like mean it, but I guess she just apologized to me. I'm like, yeah, I guess it's whatever. I didn't say this, but I kind of shook my head and like, yeah. And Tony has these brothers. I don't know if they were brothers or his friends. I'm gonna assume like they were his brothers or whatever. That's for the purpose of the story. They asked if I want to play football, and I'm like, sure, I guess. Like, I don't, at this point, I didn't really forgive Tony, but I'm like, whatever, I guess. We can kind of be friends, or whatever. Now that I'm remembering the story and I'm actually telling this, if that happened to me now, I'd be like, no, fuck you, Tony, and fuck your mom. But at that time, I was kind of like, forgive and forget, whatever. But now I would have been obviously, fuck you. But whatever. And afterwards, me and my mom head back inside after they're done talking, and I'm done playing with Tony and his football or whatever. And so we head back inside, and immediately my mom, from going from smiley, happily, like very happy, very smiling, right? Her expression just drops, like, and I'm like, you okay? What happened? And I'm like, them. I'm like, well, what about them? And it's like, you know what? What happened? Is like, don't worry about it. And I asked her, what were you guys talking about? And she actually asked, and she told me, so not asked me, she told me she was trying to convince me to let them stay in our appointment. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, they were trying to guilt trip me into letting them stay, like, sleep in our appointment and stay in there for a while. I'm like, why? And I'm like, I don't really know. And again, this is another, well, that's why I brought this up earlier. Our apartment is not very big. It is very small. Like, there was only three people, me, my mom, and my dad, living in there at the time, and it was still cramped. Anyways, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of like, I guess I know why that apology sounded the way she did. Or maybe she actually did mean the apology and I just kind of picked it up the wrong way, but whatever. And after this, I don't hear from her at all. I do hear a couple things, but I don't hear like really about her, if that makes sense. I don't see her at all, right? So at this point, it really is done. However, this isn't the last time I heard about her. This is just my last interaction with her. That's a better way of saying it. Sorry. Um, and so basically, what happens is I heard from the cop because he comes by back again and he's like, "You got nothing to worry about. Everything's gonna be okay." And I actually hear him over say, because like I'm right there and there, he's talking to my mom, right? This cop. Um, and he says that she's actually done this 7 other times. Again, please excuse me if I'm bad at this. I'm probably going to retell the story later again, but in a better way. So excuse me, because it's like my first time doing this. So I'm sorry. But anyways, let's get back on track because I'm getting off track. So she basically says that, sorry, no, the cop says that she's actually done this 7 other times to different kids. And I'm like, what? Well, I didn't say what, but I'm thinking, okay, what the hell? And now I don't know where I heard this from, and that's kind of the end of it, but there are a couple other things that I heard, like, I don't remember really where I heard this particular thing from. However, I do remember hearing it, and apparently she got like evicted from her house, and that's why she needed to stay at our house. Again, I don't know if that's true. That's just what I heard. But yeah, that's the story of the time the woman almost stalked me. Again, I'm sorry this video was kind of bad, to be honest. I'm probably gonna retell this another time when I'm doing a lot better. Well, when I get a lot better at this. But I thought I'd make a good video. I hope you did enjoy. And I actually have a couple other stories if you guys would like to hear them and you guys like this video, because I actually had fun making this video because it's kind of more like a chill video. Um, so I kind of enjoyed it. But tomorrow I will be back on 60 Seconds Reatomize. So I hope you enjoyed. Sorry. I hope you did enjoy this video. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day, my friends. Goodbye.